Often what happens is people fall into some traps and they think that the idea is that there's a specific protocol that you can follow that's going to help you deal with whatever the problem is with whatever particular kid is. And there's a whole bunch of interventions out there that are based on the systematic application of a specific protocol. The problem is those are based um, an environment that has a lot of control. That there's a motivation to do some things. There is a sense that everybody has the same level of competence and can implement whatever the strategies are. And the reality is that's not life. And success in life, or success working with really difficult kids, or difficult people in general, is trying to figure out how can we do something that we're all on the same page. We're talking about this notion of concordance as opposed to consistency. The idea that we know that there's going to be variation from person to person, and that's okay because that's life. And within that variation, there has to be some sense of predictability. So the term that we use is structured flexibility. What does that mean? Structure. There's an organizing scheme that we all understand. We all understand that we're going to try, that you have a theory and I have a theory and we're going to test it out. There's a structure in the way that we think about problems and that we're organizing problems in a way that are going to help us to be as objective as possible, to try to create a sense of measurability around those kind of things so that we all are on the same page saying that is what the issue is. And within that, so there's that structure to try to come up with a series of things that we want to try. But there is this flexibility, and the notion of flexibility is, while we all agree that we have this protocol that is a structure, meaning we're going to systematically test things out, we're going to create a way that an evaluation protocol that's going to give us some meaningful information, and then based on that we're going to make some adjustments. That's the structure. But the flexibility is, within that, we know there's variation from person to person, and what we need to do is integrate that into what we're doing, recognizing that different people do different things with different people at different times, that there are some people that are better at this than others, that there are some people that are more trained and more knowledgeable than others, and rather than say that we're all going to do this stuff, we can recognize those differences and figure out within those differences, as long as we are all going in the same direction, saying we have the same outcome, we're working on the same problem, we have the same way of testing, that there is going to be variation, and that variation isn't a problem. And in fact, if we're going to be successful in life, we need to be flexible people anyway. So if we think about this, it's a parallel process. On the one hand, we are trying to create a structure that we all agree to follow. Within that, we're going to recognize differences from person to person. And if we can get kids that we work with to understand that there are sort of general things that we all have to understand, but there are individual differences that are meaningful to me, that's okay as well. So we're teaching the people who are teaching kids how to think in a way that gives a structure, but is not rigid. And by doing that, we're teaching kids how to think because they see other people that they're apprenticing to do this in a way that's meaningful and has impact on their lives.